For some sports news, next week sees the start of the Tour de France in the resort town of Nice. And one man who's looking forward to that is Ryan Gibbons, the South African champion. He's been selected in the NTT Procycling team for his first ever participation in the Tour. And he joins me now via Skype. Ryan, good morning. Good to have you with us. How are you feeling? Going to be Tour de France. It's your first ever Tour de France. Are you handling the nerves?
Definitely. I mean, it's obviously a dream come true. A lot of work's gone into it. This year's been a bit of a mess with COVID, but it's great that the race has been rescheduled to start in a week's time, and to be on the start line is going to be truly special.
Going to be really special. You were 6 months without action at a particular point. Then you raced in Poland. Am I correct? How did that go?
Poland was really, really good. Since the restart of the season, though, the bunch is a bit twitchy, so quite a few crashes. But that was relatively successful, and then after that I raced in Wallonie in Belgium this last week and crashed, so hopefully he will be alright, licking the wounds a little bit, but hopefully, fingers crossed, will be good for next week.
Okay, so you won the South African Championship earlier you were competing in Mpumalanga in February of this year. How are we looking from a South African point of view when it comes to cycling? Are we in a strong position?
Yes and no. I think the South Africans who are racing abroad are thriving. Riders like Darryl Impey, he's really a star in the sport. Unfortunately, because of the situation in South Africa, all events have been cancelled. So unfortunately, there's not kind of any new talent emerging at this point. But definitely it is there. So hopefully things will change in the future.
How were you keeping? You couldn't go out cycling at a particular point. How did you survive those 6 months without any sporting activity?
It was very difficult. I mean, I was in South Africa for two of the months of lockdown, and fortunately, as a bike rider, you've got an indoor bike, a stationary bike, which I spent many, many hours on. And in the end of May, I came back to Europe, and I was able to train freely on the roads again, which helps. But yeah, those 2 months indoors was quite tough mentally.
You're indoors because of the pandemic. COVID-19. Tour de France will start on the 29th in Nice. What do they have in place when it comes to COVID-19? In fact, in terms of how they're going to look after you when you get there.
So there's many protocols and regulations in place. One of the first things is that 6 days before the race, 3 days before the race, and then twice during the race, we have to go for the PCR COVID tests. They also try and keep all the teams isolated, where generally there'd be 3 or 4 teams in one hotel. Now they're ensuring that there's only 1 team per hotel. And then in terms of media interaction and even fans, they're trying to limit that. So generally at the start of the race, there'd be 50,000 to 100,000, if not more people and fans. And unfortunately, that's not going to be the case anymore. But they're just keeping us secluded in what they call bubbles to ensure the safety of the riders.
Yeah, all these sporting codes have got bubbles to a certain extent. We're getting used to that term at the present moment. Talk to me about the race itself. So Chris Froome, he's not going to participate. Thomas is not going to participate as well. Do you feel maybe some of the bigger names are not going to be there? Does that change anything for you?
It's very strange here. I think, with what's going on with COVID, but also, riders who usually have 6 months of preparation and races building into the tour, they don't have that anymore. So no one kind of knows where anyone's form is at, and the whole dynamic of the racing in general has changed. It's definitely going to be very competitive. I mean, it's the biggest sporting cycling event of the year. So no doubt it's still going to be just as difficult. But yeah, having some names like that not on the start list, it is going to definitely change the dynamic slightly.
Yeah, I will. And also, just talk to me about your team, NTT. What sort of riders are you taking with you? The guys that have been named in your squad, in your peloton, are you taking more sprinters? What is your strategy?
Yeah, so we're going with quite a strong sprint team. We've got Giacomo Nizzolo, an Italian rider who's been very successful of late. And we've got a few fast guys and bigger, powerful guys, myself included, to kind of aid him in achieving the result. And then we're going to be quite opportunistic. So, we're not going to be rivaling the general GC and the yellow jersey, but every stage we're going to take as an opportunity to try and get as much as we can out of the event.
Okay, so you're focusing on particular stages of the race. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, definitely. More so the sprint stages, the flatter stages, and then those in the mountains, we'll try to be opportunistic and go in breakaways and that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Listen, good luck. Any message at all for young guys who are getting into cycling at the present moment? I mean, this is the pinnacle of cycling, participating in the Tour de France for a South African rider. What do you have to say to some of the kids now that are getting onto bikes and starting to, taking cycling as a serious sport?
cycling is very unlike most other sports, where there's kind of development programs and you do it at school. It's something that kind of also takes time. So just keep at it, keep training, keep working hard. There's going to be setbacks, things like COVID or crashes or injuries, but just keep working hard and eventually, if you're good enough and if the talent's there, it'll shine through.
And it's a difficult sport. I don't know how you guys do it. That's the other thing, isn't it? It is really, really difficult.
It is very difficult. I mean, not only is it difficult, physically, spending 6 hours on the bike, but it's also very dangerous. I mean, we've seen so many crashes of late and life-threatening and crashes. So it's challenging. It's very unique, unlike anything else. But it's great, the best sport in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, it would be the best sport in the world, in your opinion. Thank you so much, Ryan, for talking to us, and good luck. It all starts on the 29th, and good luck with your team, NTT, and also from a South African point of view, we hope you do amazingly well. Marcel, when it comes to cycling, I just wonder how these guys do it.
No, absolutely.
I don't get it.
I mean, the physical discipline, the mental discipline, to put yourself out there 150% of the time and knowing around any corner there could be disaster waiting, and they just keep going. And again, an example of a sport that's had to adapt to the so-called new normal, just like so many other sports have had to do.
Yeah.